Hi everyone and welcome. My name is Sarah and today I'll be guiding you through your practice here. So today's class is a mellow flow and it's focusing on the side body. So I'm stretching through the side rib cage, through the back of the side, maybe into a little bit of the pelvis, the hips, the legs. With a mellow flow it'll be a little bit slower today, so we'll be staying within certain poses for a little bit longer, but there'll be elements of softness as opposed to strength. So when you're ready, we're going to begin today's class in a child's pose. Also just having some props close by, some blocks if you have them. If you don't, get creative, maybe working with something that resembles a block. Having a bolster as well, but if you don't have a bolster, once again, you can use a sofa cushion. And always within this practice, within your practice, everything is optional. So if at any point anything doesn't align to you, doesn't feel right for you, you don't want to do it, simply come out and maybe come into a version of that pose, or come to simply leave that pose if it's not calling to you. So when you're ready, we're going to find ourselves in a wide-legged child's pose to begin with. So taking the knees out wide, bringing in that bolster or that cushion that you are using, and just bringing it in between that place, in between the thighs here. So we're coming to sit over the tops of the heels. So our sit bones are on the top of the heels. Not necessarily will they always meet, there might be space between them, but that's where we're aiming to work towards. And then on your next breath, when you're ready, we're going to come all the way down onto the bolster, allowing the chest, the stomach and the head to come down to rest. Just coming to turn the head off to one side and allowing the arms to come beside the bolster here. And coming to settle in. And just taking any little wiggles or movements that help you to find a little bit more further comfort here. Noticing, could you be 5 or 10% more comfortable in how you've come to set up. And then coming to either close down the eyes or take a soft gaze here. Start to tune your focus inwards. Start to bring your awareness to the breath. Noticing where the breath is within the body currently. Using your props as feedback. Maybe you're noticing it in the chest or the stomach as it presses against the bolster. Maybe you're noticing it in the back of the body. And just placing your focus, your attention on this point of where you feel the breath in the body. Allow the breath to flow in and out whilst you observe it with the mind. Not forcing anything or changing anything, we are merely observing the breath within the body. And staying here with this focus, and knowing if the mind wanders, just gently guide it back to the awareness of the breath. And if you have got your head turned to one side, come to turn your head so it's now onto the other side. And coming to remain with that focus of breath awareness. And then next I invite you to, you can either stay where you are with the breath awareness practice, or start to bring some awareness to the rib cage, to the chest, to the back of the body. Start to think about filling up the rib cage as you inhale evenly. And as you exhale, Can you notice all parts of the rib cage decompress here? As you inhale, filling up, can you feel the front, the back, the side of the rib cage, feeling that 360 expansion through the rib cage? Can you bring the same level of awareness as the rib cage decompresses on the exhale, feeling the side body, the back body, the front of the body close off as you let the air out. And just staying with this focus of feeling the expansiveness of the rib cage and the decompression of the rib cage between your inhale and your exhale. Once again, not forcing anything here, just being conscious of the rib cage and how it helps us to breathe here with expansiveness, and the closing off that it does as we exhale. Maybe you notice the rib cage more against the clothes that you're wearing as feedback. Feeling each point of the rib cage touch your clothing as you breathe in, and maybe disconnect as you breathe out. And then coming to let go of that awareness of the breath, of that observation, of the 360, breathing in and out. And coming to bring the hands down towards the mat if they're not firmly planted, and just coming to lift yourself up ever so slightly. Just removing that prop that's from in between the thighs. And then coming to extend the arms out long, coming to place the forehead to the mat. Maybe you're using a block if the forehead doesn't quite meet the mat. If you like the head to hover between the forearms, that's also an option. But we're thinking about sinking the hips back towards the heels as we come into this extended child's pose. And once you've walked your fingertips as far as they can go, come to soften the forearms down to the mat. And come to tune into the breath one more time here. Allowing the breath to help create some softness here in this pose. Can you tune on in and come to realize any parts of the body that might hold some tension? And can you help to send the breath there to ease that tension? Maybe it helps, maybe it doesn't. Or maybe you have no tension at all. On your next breath, coming to firm into the hands, lift the forearms off of the mat, finding a more active child's pose. As we lift the forehead off the mat, come to walk the hands in towards your body, coming up to rise nice and slowly. The chin is tucked in towards the chest. And as you come to find yourself in kneeling, bring the knees together. Just taking a moment, coming to sit over the tops of the thighs, and gazing towards the top of the mat, inviting in the surroundings after we've just spent a partial amount of time just laying down on the mat. And then when you're ready, coming up to kneeling, coming to find your blocks. So we're going to bring our blocks side by side together here. And they can be on their highest setting, or they can be on the lowest setting. Oh, sorry, they can be on the lowest, mid, or they can be up on the highest setting. Just coming to explore what feels right for you. I'm coming to bring the knees a little bit closer in towards the blocks. And then as you come to bring your elbows down on towards the blocks, maybe the palms come to meet together here. And we're sending the sit bones up towards the sky, so we're starting to create a little tilt through the pelvis. The toes can be tucked here just for a moment, or you can untuck them. And then we're going to slowly start to walk your knees towards the back of the mat. As you do so, you'll start to notice that the chest starts to come slightly down towards the mat. So the forehead is then coming in between the forearms. Should I say in between the biceps, sorry. And then allow yourself to either soften here. Maybe you're drawing the thumbs towards the back of the neck to create a little bit more depth through that stretch through the armpit and the side body. And then on the next breath, start to think about tucking the tailbone under. So we're creating a kind of straight, kind of flat back, so to speak. That'll start to tuck the tailbone, that'll start to round through the back ever so slightly, and you might start to feel a little bit more of a stretch through that armpit, through the side body. That's a little bit deeper than being into the passive version that we just began in. And then just move between these two with your breath. So coming into that more passive version, allowing the chest to sink towards the mat, tailbone up towards the sky. And then in your breath, come to tuck the tailbone under, push, drive the elbows down and towards the block, creating a more kind of flat back, so to speak, finding a bit of engagement here. And then just move between these two rounds. When you've done your final round, come to extend those arms if you've brought the thumbs towards the back of the neck. Slowly start to walk the knees back in as we bring the forehead back up. And then coming forward, bringing the hands maybe towards the blocks, helping you to come up. Coming to remove the blocks off to one side. Just moving any props out of the way as we come to bring the hands out in front of us. Come into tabletop and then slowly start to walk the knees backwards. Untuck the toes as you come to lower yourself all the way down to the mat. Forehead comes to meet the mat. Tops of the feet are resting gently on the mat. Maybe you take the legs out a little bit wider than the hips. And then come to bring your arms out towards shoulder height. So both arms are reaching out towards the side. So they're in like a T shape. And then take your head off towards the right side. So now you're facing your right hand. Bring your right hand in towards the body so it's just in line with the shoulder or underneath. We've still got this left hand extending out. And then you might like to either just push into that right hand and gently come onto that right hip, the left hip, sorry. This might be where you want to stay. But if you're not feeling any sensation here, come to roll on towards that left hip a little bit further. Maybe this top leg, this right leg is coming to bend and coming back behind you. So we're planting that right foot on towards the mat behind the left leg. So we're looking to feel a stretch or some sensation here along the pectoral, the left pec here and into the shoulder. We're not looking to create any pain or create any, what should I say, not we're not looking to create any pain here. We're just looking to create a slight sensation, a slight feeling of soft tension here. And then on your next breath, gently coming back through center, bringing that top leg back as we roll ourselves back onto the mat. So forehead's facing back down, stretching that right arm back out again. And then coming to turn the head over towards the left side this time. If you found that that was a little bit difficult or challenging on that side, you can always come to place your head onto a block to create a little bit more space for you, and just experiment with coming maybe in and out and just finding your depth and your range. And turning the head over towards the left side. Coming to bring the left hand in towards the left shoulder, or just underneath. And then come to roll onto the right hip. And then maybe you're keeping the legs stacked here, or maybe the top leg is in front of the bottom leg, or maybe you are bending through that left knee, coming to plant the left foot back behind you. So it's behind the right leg. And once again, if you want to add on, you can always send that left hand up towards the sky and reach it back behind you. Draw the shoulder blades into one another. And if it's even there for you, you can interlace hands behind the back. It's definitely not there for me. But some people have that mobility. Everybody's anatomy and body is different. So just either minus or subtract or add on to your practice. Tailor your practice to your needs, to your anatomy. And bringing that hand back up towards the sky if you have sent it back behind you. And then coming to place that hand back down towards the mat as it gently helps to guide us all the way back to centre. And then coming to bring the hands beside the rib cage. And then come to push in towards the hands, coming up to rise through tabletop. So in this tabletop, you might notice that the knees are slightly back. So maybe start to walk them forward ever so slightly as you kind of start to bring the knees underneath the hips or thereabouts. And then on your next breath, coming through cow pose, so coming to tuck the tailbone up towards tuck the tailbone, lift the tailbone up towards the sky, dipping the belly towards the mat as the chest slightly comes through, gaze comes forward. On your next breath, coming through cat, coming to bring the chin in towards the chest, tucking the tailbone under, doming through the upper back, finding cat pose. And then in your cow, coming back into a neutral tabletop, you're going to bring the hips, draw the hips all the way back towards the heels. Bringing the forehead towards the mat, coming to find child's pose. Drawing the chin in towards the chest as you come up to rise, thinking cat pose. Tucking the tailbone under, and then coming to find cow pose. Tailbone up towards the sky, dipping the stomach towards the mat, creating that arch through the lower back. Back into a neutral tabletop, drawing the hips back towards the heels, coming to find child's pose. Chin in towards the chest, coming up to rise, thinking cat pose, and then finding your way into cow pose. Taking that one more time on your own, coming into neutral tabletop, child's pose, and then going through your cat-cow. There is no rush, moving with your breath and your rhythm. And once you've found yourself back in a neutral tabletop, just coming to walk the hands in towards the body, coming to sit over the tops of the thighs for a round of breath. And just coming to maybe close down the eyes and notice what there might be to notice within the body so far. Since you began your practice, has anything changed at all? Not attaching judgment to it, we're simply observing how the body is reacting to the practice here today. Do you need to move more slowly? Maybe you need to invite more breath in. Or maybe everything simply feels perfect as it is for you here. And then coming to walk the hands back out again, coming to find tabletop, setting up for thread the needle. So we're going to come to bring our weight into the left hand, start to get light through the right fingertips as you send the right arm out towards shoulder height. This might be where you want to stay, or you might like to rotate the chest, sending that right arm up towards the sky ever so slightly. As it then comes back down towards the earth, we're going to sweep it through, we're going to thread it through that space between the left arm and the left knee. Come to place the forehead either down towards the mat, or once again you can invite in that block and bring the forehead to the block. So we're keeping the sit bones up in the air here. And you can always extend that left arm out ahead of you, taking it to the top of the mat, helping to create a little bit more space if you need it. Once again, if you're looking for more, you can come to extend that left leg out towards the side also. And if you want to add on some more, you can take this left hand up towards the sky, take it back behind you and wrap it round the back, coming to find a bind onto the right thigh. Allowing the chest to spiral to the left side of the mat. Just finding any variation that works for you. On your next breath, if you've taken any adjustments, coming to bring the leg in and then bring that hand, the left hand back so it's roughly underneath the shoulder, firming into that left hand, coming up to rise. Taking that right arm out towards shoulder height, or coming to find a little mini twist towards the sky as we come to bring it back down to the mat. And then come to bring some awareness into this right leg. We're going to take it out towards the right side. So just finding a comfortable way of however that works for you. So this right leg is coming out towards the right side. So the toes are facing forwards or thereabouts. Slowly start to walk the hands in towards the body as you come up to rise. So we're coming into a gate pose here. So we're kneeling over the top of this left knee, and this right leg is extended out towards the side. Bringing the hands to heart center for a round of breath. Maybe there's a little micro bend in that right knee. And bring the hands up towards the sky. Maybe the gaze follows. And then as you bring your right hand down towards the right leg, maybe or the right hip, we're going to stretch over towards the right side, reaching those left fingertips over towards the right side of the room. Reaching for the ceiling as we feel that stretch along the left side of the body. And taking a round of breath here. Maybe the gaze is up or down to the right foot. And coming back through center, bringing the hands back towards the hips, and then slowly bringing the hands back down towards the mat, coming back through tabletop, and then coming to bring that right knee in to meet the left knee. Coming over towards the left side this time, coming to extend the left arm out towards shoulder height. This might be where you want to stay, or you might like to rotate the chest, sending the left arm up towards the sky. As we come down, we're going to sweep this left hand between the space of the right arm and right knee, bringing the forehead either down to the mat or to a block. Sit bones are sending the energy up towards the ceiling. Once again, you can either extend that arm, the right arm towards the top of the mat. You can always extend that right leg long beside the body. Or you can find that bind if it's calling to you also. Adjusting for your needs here. And And taking one more round of breath where you are. Before coming to bring the leg in if you've extended it, walking the arm back in so that the right arm is underneath, the right hand is underneath the shoulder or thereabouts. Firming into that hand as we come up to rise. Sending the left hand out towards the side, maybe you find a counter twist. As we then bring the left hand down to meet the right. And then coming to walk the hands in towards the body, coming up to rise. Coming to extend this left leg out towards the side so that it is straight. Toes are facing towards the top of the mat, or maybe they're angled out ever so slightly depending on your anatomy of your hip and pelvis. Bring the hands to heart center. Taking a round of breath here. And then bringing the hands up towards the sky, maybe the gaze follows. And then bringing the left hand over towards the left leg, just so it gently rests on the outside or maybe on towards the hip. And then coming to lean over towards the left side. Stretching those right fingertips up towards the corner of the left ceiling. So where the wall meets the ceiling. That's what we're reaching for here. And the arm is beside the ear or thereabouts. And just allowing the gaze to be where it wants to be. And then allow the breath to guide you back up, coming through neutral, bringing the hands back down towards the mat. As you come to find tabletop, we're going to sweep that left leg back in to meet the right. And then coming to take the hands a handprint ahead of the shoulders, coming to tuck the toes, preparing for down dog. So when you're ready, we're going to lift the hips up and back, finding downward facing dog. Coming to take any movement that might be calling to you here. If you are pedaling out the feet, can you really slow this movement down? Straightening one leg, bending the other knee. Maybe pausing on each side for a round of breath. And then come to find some stillness. Come to bring some awareness to your down dog here. And maybe just explore with taking some different variations of stance. Maybe the feet a bit more narrow or a bit more wide. Maybe the hands turning out. Taking some time here in your mellow flow to explore different options in different poses to find maybe a different level of accessibility and comfort in this pose for you. Nice generous bend in the knees, allowing the gaze to come between the legs to the back of the room. On your next breath, tiptoeing your way towards the top of the mat, coming to find forward fold. So that could be elbows to the thighs, fingertips to the mat or palms to the mat. Allow the head and neck to hang heavy. Maybe taking hold of opposite elbows here. And nice generous bend in the knees if it helps to assist bringing the chest towards the thighs here. Coming to let go of the elbows if you took that option. And then coming to find a halfway lift here. So maybe you're bringing in the blocks underneath you. So halfway lift is we're coming to straighten the legs and the body is parallel towards the mat. Maybe the hands are to the shins or to the blocks. Finding a round of breath here. And then on your next breath, if you're using props here, start to bring that prop so it's in the middle. So in the middle of the feet, in the middle of the mat. Come to place the left hand either down to the floor or down to your prop. Come to bend through this left leg, straightening through this right leg. We're going to send this right arm out towards the side, towards shoulder height. So we're feeling a nice little juicy stretch along the back of that left leg here, right leg here, sorry. You might like to stay here or you can continue to On your next breath, coming to either place the right hand down to the mat or down to the prop. Come to bend through that right knee, straightening through the left leg, sending that left arm out towards the side at shoulder height. Stay here, or you can come to rotate the chest towards the left side, sending that left hand up towards the sky. Maybe the gaze follows, or maybe it stays down to the mat. And then coming to bring that left hand to meet the right, bending through the right and left knees, coming to find forward fold. On your next breath, firming down through the big toe, the little toe, the heel, rooting down through the feet, come up to rise, allow the hands to hang heavy, the chin is in towards the chest. We're coming up piece by piece, nice and slowly. Really taking your time. As the head comes up, chin is the last thing to come up as it starts to rise. Circle the arms out beside you. Bring the hands up above the head, maybe the palms meet, and then drawing them down through heart center. And bringing the hands beside the body for Tadasana. Maybe coming to close down the eyes or take a soft gaze as we pause here for a few rounds of breath. Start to bring some awareness into your feet, into the foundations beneath you, to the points that are connecting here, and to the points that aren't connecting. Once again, there is no right, there is no wrong, just the awareness of our body as it is here in space. Maybe taking a very gentle rock forward onto the toes and a gentle rock back onto the heels, allowing the toes to lift. Maybe coming towards the right and over towards the left. And then coming back into your center and just noticing if there's anything different. And coming to open up the eyes if you have closed down the eyes. Bring the hands up towards the sky. Gaze might follow as you do so. Bring a slight little micro bend into the knees. Come to take hold of the right wrist with the left hand as we then reach the fingertips, all of those hands, as we reach those hands over towards the left side. So we're finding a lateral side stretch here through the right side of the body. The bottom of the body, the legs, the hips are still staying central. The stretch and the lift is coming over towards the left side through the torso. And coming back through center, taking hold of the left wrist with the right hand, finding that stretch first, allowing that right arm to help stretch up towards the sky as you then lean the torso over towards the right side. Keeping the bottom part of the body where it is. And coming back through center, palms might meet as they draw down through heart center. This time come to fold over the tops of the thighs, bringing the hands down towards the mat. Coming to find halfway lift, bringing the hands to the shins, straightening through the legs. The back is flat, gaze is down to the mat. Having your props close by if you want to work with them here. Coming to step the right foot back. So we're coming into a runner's lunge here. Maybe the hands are on props or maybe they're onto the floor. On your next breath, coming to gently lower that right knee down. Come to untuck the toes. And then coming up to rise. Bringing the hands up towards the sky, or maybe the hands are to heart center. Pausing for a round of breath here. And bringing some awareness maybe into the pelvis, tucking and untucking the pelvis till you find some form of alignment here that feels good for your anatomy. And then sending the hands up towards the sky. On your next breath, we're going to reach the left arm back behind us, right arm in front. If that doesn't feel, it feels a bit funky on the left arm, you can always bring the hand towards left hip. But we're just creating a little twist here, over towards the left side. And then coming back through centre, drawing the hands to heart centre. Next, we're transitioning into a crescent lunge. So coming to tuck the back toes. Maybe you're using the blocks here. We're going to come to lift that back knee, finding that runner's lunge, either hands to the floor, to the blocks. And then on your next breath, once you've found that stability, that even weight of distribution between both legs, bringing the hands out in front, coming up to rise to find crescent lunge. Hands can be above the head or they can be at heart centre, or even towards the hips. Finding a round of breath here. Notice in your crescent lunge, maybe it needs to be a bit more narrow or more wide, or even taking the legs further apart to each side of the mat to create more stability as you come here to stand in your crescent lunge. Bring the hands up towards the sky, taking hold of that right wrist with the left hand, and then coming to lean the torso slightly over towards the left side, finding that stretch once again along the right side of the body. You might notice here in our crescent lunge the difference that it brings in. Maybe it comes into the back of the body ever so slightly, maybe more into the hip flexors as it did as opposed to when we was into Tadasana in our side lateral stretch. Coming back through centre, letting go of that grip. And start to bring some awareness to this back foot, to this back leg, as we then spiral that heel so that it comes to meet the mat and the toes face the long edge of the mat. Extending the arms out nice and long, coming to find warrior two. Pausing for a round of breath here. And then coming to turn that front palm over so that it's facing the sky. Come forward ever so slightly as we then bring the left fingertips up towards the sky for reverse warrior. Still keeping this front knee bent. This back hand can be down the back of the leg, or it can be on the hip, or you can always wrap it around the back of the body and take hold of the left thigh for a bind. Coming back through centre, back through warrior two. Coming to cartwheel the hands to either come towards the blocks or the floor as we turn all 10 toes towards the top of the mat. And then come to frame that foot, come to step that left foot back to meet the right foot, lowering the knees down towards the mat as we send the hips back towards the heels for child's pose. You can either have the hands out ahead or you can stretch them towards the back of the mat. And coming to take a round of breath here. Noticing what there is to notice within the body, considering we've worked one side and not the other so far. On your next breath, coming up to seat, rolling up nice and slowly, being mindful not to rush. And then coming to find yourself into down dog. So coming through tabletop, coming to tuck the toes and lift your hips up and back. Pausing for a round of breath. And then on your next breath, coming to tiptoe the feet towards the top of the mat, finding yourself in forward fold. Your variation here. Coming to bend through the knees, coming up to rise. Sweeping the hands out beside the body, palms come up above the head as they may meet, drawing them down through heart center. Coming to bring the hands beside the body for Tadasana. And bringing the hands up towards the sky as the palms meet, drawing them down through heart center. Bend the knees, fold over the tops of the thighs, forward fold. Bringing the hands to the shins, come to find halfway lift. And either hands to the blocks or hands to the floor. Come to bend into those knees ever so slightly as we step this left foot back behind us for a runner's lunge. Gently place your knee down towards the mat. Come to untuck your toes. Coming up to rise for low lunge. Hands can be above the head or they can be at heart center. Once again, think of this tuck of the tailbone or untuck and just finding what works for you here in terms of your low lunge. And bringing the hands to heart center. On your next breath, we're going to send this left arm out in front of us, right arm back behind us for a low lunge twist. That back arm can be to the hip. Hands can even be at heart center if the shoulders are feeling a bit fatigued at all. And coming back through center. Either bringing the hands towards the blocks or towards the mat as you come to tuck the back toes and lift the back knee. Start to find that even weight of distribution and that stability before you come up to rise for crescent lunge. If you come up to rise and you notice your crescent lunge feels a bit wobbly or unstable, just explore with taking the feet a little bit wider or a bit more narrow. Just come to find a stable crescent lunge for you. Pause in for a round of breath. Bringing the hands up towards the sky if they're not already. Taking hold of the left wrist with the right hand and then leaning the torso, keeping the bottom part of the body where it is, leaning the torso over towards the right side of the mat. Finding that stretch down the hip flexor into the pelvis, maybe the front of the stomach, the rib cage, maybe even into the back of the lower back ever so slightly. But we're thinking about finding length, so we want to be reaching towards the right side. Coming back through center, pausing for a round of breath. And bringing your awareness into this back leg, this back foot. We're going to spiral that back heel down, toes are facing the long edge of the mat, arms reach out to shoulder height as you find warrior two. This front knee is still bent. And the arms can be slightly relaxed, elbows, shoulders can be slightly soft here. Finding your breath. And come to reverse that front hand so that the palms face in the sky. Come forward ever so slightly as we then reach the right fingertips up towards the sky. This back hand, this left hand can come down the back leg or to the hip. And that gaze can be up towards the sky or maybe even taking it to the back foot, depending on your neck alignment. Coming back through warrior two. Coming to cartwheel the hands either to the blocks or to the mat, turning all 10 toes towards the top of the mat, framing that right foot. Come to send the right foot back behind you to meet the left, lowering the knees, sending the hips back towards the heels for child's pose. Once again, you can bring the hands out ahead or they can reach back behind you. And we're going to be here for a few rounds of breath. Come to settle on in. On your next breath, coming to roll up, piece by piece, really taking your time, not rushing to come up. Finding your way into a seat. So we're all going to come off and sit on our sit bones here. So we're coming to find a seated butterfly, so Baddha Konasana. And there's a couple of invitations here. You can always inviting a pillow or a blanket. You can roll up the edge of a blanket and come to sit on the edge. Come to sit on the edge of that blanket or that pillow until you feel like your sit bones are almost going to fall off, but they don't fall off. And you just notice there'll be a little tilt through the pelvis. Come to extend your legs out long in front of you. And then on your next breath, without using your hands, bring the hands beside the body. Bring either the right foot in first or the left foot in, whatever comes first. And allow the soles of the feet to meet. Knees are falling out to the side, so that diamond shape, that butterfly shape. You can take the feet a little bit further away from you to create a bigger diamond shape, depending on your mobility through the hips. You can also invite in props underneath the knees or the thighs to help hold the legs here. And if that blanket or that pelvic tilt is just not for you here either, feel free to get rid of the pillow or whatever you might have been using to anchor you up. And once you find your seated butterfly, come to either bring the hands beside the body. They can either be behind you or to the side of the hips. Allow the gaze to come forward, maybe a slight tuck of the chin in towards the chest. You can either stay here or you can slowly start to walk yourself ever so slightly forward, coming to find a mini forward fold in your seated butterfly. Maybe the hands come in between into the inner legs. Maybe the hands are on the feet and you draw the head in towards that space in between the legs. And once again, just tuning on into your body, to what it is requesting from you here in this posture. Maybe you come in and notice it's not for you and you come out. Just having these micro conversations with yourself, with your body. And cultivating that space for you. Maybe while you're here, you can take, if you've got the hands on the feet, you can take the thumbs to the inner bases of the feet, to where the arches are. And give yourself a little massage on the feet. Maybe even coming to the ankles, maybe to the toes, or maybe you're just finding your stillness here. Tuning into the breath, wherever you are. On your next breath, coming up to roll nice and slowly if you folded forward. Moving any props off to one side if you've took that option. Coming to extend one leg long first and then come to extend the other. Giving them maybe a little shimmy and a shake. Releasing through the legs. And then when you're ready, scooting the hips forward ever so slightly as you roll your way all the way down to the mat, coming to find yourself laying down. On your next breath, coming to draw the right knee in towards the chest, interlacing the hands around the front of the shin, and just drawing the leg in towards the body. Left leg still extended long down the mat. And then taking hold of the right knee with the left hand, sending the right arm out towards the side so it's at shoulder height, and scoot the hips over towards the right ever so slightly as we come to find a supine twist. So we're going to bring the right knee over towards the left side of your mat. We're still maintaining the upper back towards the mat, anchoring it down here. Maybe you bring in a prop if that knee is floating in the air and you'd like some support, or maybe you like it floating. You can use the left hand to the right knee to give it a slight adjustment to help anchor it down towards the mat also. And then on your next breath, gently drawing that right knee back through center, give it a nice little squeeze towards the body before releasing it and letting it extend long down the mat. And when you're ready, on your next breath, drawing the left knee in towards the body, interlacing the hands around the front of the shin. Giving it a little squeeze in towards the body before taking hold of the left knee with the right hand. Scooting the left hips over towards the left side ever so slightly as we then guide that left knee over towards the right side of the mat for a supine spinal twist. Extending that left arm out towards the side, upper back is still maintained down towards the mat. Gaze can be up, or you can take your gaze down the left hand. Tuning into the breath here. And then on your next breath, coming to draw that left knee back through center, drawing both knees in together, either interlacing the hands around the front of the shins as you squeeze knees to chest, or maybe you're taking hold of opposite forearms as they're wrapped around the front of the shins, taking some rocks side to side. And then coming to extend the legs long down the mat. Coming to find your final resting pose, your Shavasana. Bringing the hands beside the body, or maybe you want to take a different version. Maybe you're laying on the side. Maybe you're coming to find a seat. Just taking any variation of your final resting pose that feels good for you. And I come to find some stillness here, some softness. And maybe you're closing down the eyes or taking that soft gaze. And wherever you are, wherever you have chosen to set up, just start to bring some awareness to the body. Maybe could you be 5 to 10% more comfortable where you are? Taking any mini micro adjustments where necessary. Before coming to settle on in. And bringing some awareness to the points of body as they connect on the mat here. Maybe starting from the base of the body, from the feet, from the heels, to the back of the body, to each point as it connects here. And allow these points to soften into the foundation beneath you. And come to find your final resting pose. When it is time to come out, I will guide you. Until then, Shavasana. Start to bring some awareness back to the room, back to your surroundings. Maybe noticing some noises that are in the room or external to the room that you are in. And either feel free to end your practice where you are. Maybe you want to stay in your Shavasana for a little bit longer. But if you are looking to come out, start to bring some mini micro movements into the body, starting with the feet and the hands, and then extending this movement into the legs, the arms, into the body before coming up to find a seat. There is no rush. Coming to take your time, really finding your way there piece by piece. And still maintaining that soft gaze or close of the eyes if it's there for you. And when you've come to find your seat, allowing the hands to rest wherever feels good for you. Maybe it's the hands are to the knees, maybe the palms are facing up or down. And maybe you've got the hands on the body, maybe one on heart center, one on the stomach. And gently drawing the chin ever so slightly in towards the chest, just a slight tuck here. And taking a moment here to acknowledge yourself, acknowledge your practice here today, your observations here today, and the time that you cultivated for yourself here today. And deepest gratitude to each of you for your practice here today, from my heart to yours. Thank you. And thank you ever so much, guys. I hope you enjoyed your practice. And yeah, have a great day or great evening, whatever time it is for you. And I look forward to seeing you again. Take care, guys. Thank you so much. Bye.